Hello everyone, Thomas Fleming here again. Well, I don't have my jacket on. It's not perfectly warm. I think it's in the 50s, but I can take a jacket off, so it's warming up. We do have another round of storms next week, so keep me in your prayers and those that might be in its path. Again, this is all stuff coming as an overflow from California. It's California's fault they're getting hit, but we're being part of it, and we're on the other side of the country. They're getting a lot of snow in the mountains, but it's not enough to catch everything coming at them. Now, I think they're about done other than what's coming over now. So hopefully, excuse me, we'll be done with this stuff. When I start talking, I can realize that the air is stuffy here. I miss the salt air. I felt the clearest in my head when I was down on the coast. I'd love to get back. I'd even thought about going to Israel, but I'm not going to go anywhere unless God wants me to go. Sorry. Okay. I think it says somewhere that we tell people we're going to go here and we're going to go there, and we can't even predict the weather accurately. We ought to say, if it's the Lord's will, I'm going to go here and go there. It's in the Bible someplace. I forget where it's at. All right. What I want to talk about, we are supposed to be out there trying to reap this last harvest before we get out of here. There are people starting to wake up, saying that the government is lying to them. It's obvious. It's obvious to us as Christians that the government's lying, and they're doing things they shouldn't do. And they're meeting to take over the world. They started yesterday, and when they get out of there, I'm not looking forward to what they're going to come up with. I'm not worried, but I'm worried for the world. When we get raptured, the bulk of the harvesters will be gone. That concerns me. You see, God did not condemn the world to hell. He built hell for Satan. The whole world is under the grace of God. Christ died for everybody on this planet. But there's going to be so many that are not going to go with us, and so many that are going to end up at the white throne and aren't going to get to heaven. Why? Because they outright reject, based on a lie, but they've all been given the truth, and they just have been programmed so many years of living that lie, they can't get away from it. Now, God knows everybody whose name's in the book of life. He's not going to let any of them go to hell, or eventually to the fiery pit, which I didn't get a whole lot of comments on or likes on my meme, but Satan in hell saying, but it's only a dry heat. Like all those people out west in Arizona and that. It's only a dry heat. Yeah, so's a bonfire, and I don't see backing into that either. Okay. So the bottom line is, we're all, if we're Christians, we're definitely destined to be in heaven. But we're destined to work down here until we get there. We got a harvest to do. We've got people now that are beginning to wake up. And there's going to be people waking up at the last second. You think the thief on the cross was there by accident? He's to show us that there's going to be, which way is the sun? Get the sun directly behind me. They're going to be jumping at the chance to get to heaven at the last second. That thief couldn't have cut it any closer. Now, I don't know if it was, 10 minutes, an hour, 5 hours later, when Christ finally said it's finished, but the thief went with him to paradise, as Jesus said. Paradise is gone. We don't go to any holding place anymore. We go to heaven. So those that are dying now, it's unfortunate for them and for their families, but if they're Christians, they're going to heaven. So be happy for them from that point of view. There's no more waiting. We got bike riders coming, and I see if I'm getting to where I get to talk to pretty much everybody. because they see me doing this and they want to know what I'm doing. They're curious. And so I do get to talk, which is great. And I found that the majority of the people that come out here are willing to talk about God. So people coming out to nature, to be amongst God's creation, are open to talk about Him. Yeah, I'm at the boat ramp. They're looking at where you get to put in at. Okay, the bottom line is, though, is that we have work to do. Every one of us has work to do. And I've got people out there saying, I don't have any work to do. God didn't give me any work. Yes, He did. You probably said, I can't do it. You can do anything if God wants it. I've said this before. Peter walked on water until he took his eyes off of Jesus. You can do anything. Christ also said, greater things than these you will do in my name. We're chosen ahead of time. If you think you're not worthy, we're all worthy. We've all been chosen. We were chosen from the beginning. And God knows the timeline. He knows it from the beginning to the end, the Alpha and the Omega. So everything that we're supposed to do, He knows who's going to come into our path. Let me take a break for a little bit until I see what they're doing. Okay, I'm back. Anyhow, we've all been chosen, so He knows your ability. So there's no excuse. You just simply have to say, okay, I'm afraid to do this, and do it. Some cases He may give you help, but in other cases He doesn't need to. If the power of God is behind you, you don't need help. It's already there. Now, people are starting to wake up. I'm waiting to hear what they're going to do with this meeting that they just are having now. But our ATF just banned a specific type of gun, which is illegal for them to do. It's against the Constitution for them to ban it. They're going to use it to ban all guns eventually. They're saying, well, you've got 3 months to either register it, destroy it, or turn it in. Otherwise, you're a felon. And the ATF has the power to take away everything you own and throw you in prison for 10 years. And it's against the law, and it will probably take half of that for the Supreme Court to hear it. In which case your whole life is destroyed, which is their purpose. They hate people. Our government, because it's being run by Satan, hates people. I keep saying that, and it's the truth. And I'm anxious to hear what our squab affiliates are going to come out of this new meeting with. What are their new marching orders? It's going to probably be something along the line of, we're ready. Start turning the switches. And there's so many people that are involved in it, you're not going to be able to beat it. Now, the good news is the harlot isn't going to stay in power forever, but there will be the blood of Christians on the harlot. Hopefully, after we're gone. Hopefully. But we don't know the date, so keep watching. It's got to be soon because, like I said, they're getting ready to turn the key on everything that they want to do to take over the world. The United States is already in their pocket, so they don't have to worry about it. They were worried for a little while, but they've got control now. Our control of the House is not going to stop them because they're just going to do executive orders. Or the individual branches, like the ATF, is going to come out with unconstitutional orders, and there's not going to be any way to stop them. So, let's take a look at some of our scriptures to back some of this up on you being chosen, so you're special. Let's turn to Ephesians 1. I've got 4, but I'm going to start in 3. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places in Christ. You have unlimited power at your disposal, at God's disposal, for you to use with Him, not alone. None of this stuff is in here for you to do alone. That's the thing. God will be with you every step. Just as He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before Him in love, having predestined us to adoption as sons of Jesus Christ to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. From the beginning of time, you were predestined to go to heaven. Not every step of your life. You're in charge. But he knows you're going to go to heaven. We're in the book of life. We've been there from the beginning. We're not supposed to go anywhere without him, and it takes some of us longer than others to get control of their life to be able to do that. Sometimes he has to take away your control and then give it back with him. It took me a long time to feel that I could take the reins. I was afraid too. But all of our founding fathers were afraid to a degree, and everybody was a sinner. There wasn't any sin-free. Abraham wasn't, Moses wasn't, Joshua, Jacob/Israel. It doesn't matter who they are. They all had sins. But God saw through those and saw what they were doing. He saw through Saul and saw what his real purpose was. His purpose was to serve God. He just had the wrong information. When he was given the right information, he changed quickly. So quickly that the locals didn't believe him, and they were afraid of him for a little while. But God knows everything that's going to happen, and he knows the final day. We don't. He knows the day. And since we're being snatched out, more than likely the roaring tiger, the lion, or whatever you want to call the devil, who's roaming and prowling to try to destroy us, he's going to be chomping at the bit, coming after us. And then we're going to get pulled away. We're not getting snatched away because God just happens to want to take us home that day. We're getting out of the way at the last second. God's going to probably say to Satan, okay, go ahead, give it your best while we're still here. And then reach over and snatch us away so that he can't harm us. And he's going to be pissed. And we're going to all be in heaven laughing at him because he just made a fool of himself again. Just like he's done throughout history. Satan's going to make a fool of himself again. He thinks he knows it all. He thought he destroyed Jesus when he put him up on the cross. And instead, he gave up territory and lost big time. All right. What else have we got? We've got Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good for those who love God. Period. That's the way it should be. It's got a comma. It says to those that are called according to his purpose. We're all called according to his purpose. If you're watching this, generally you are. So I like to put a period at that so people know that all things work together for good for Christians, dedicated Christians. But I explain the full meaning so you don't have a false teacher here. For whom he foreknew, all this were predestined, we are also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, to the image of Jesus, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he predestined, these he also called. Whom he called, these he also justified. Whom he justified, these he also glorified. So you can see, we're here as servants of Jesus, who's a servant of God. Everybody's a servant to somebody. If you own a restaurant, you're still a servant to somebody. If you're a server in the restaurant, you're a servant to your boss, who's a servant to the money makers who give him the money for the restaurant. I'm going to jump over to 9:25. Actually, 24. Even whom he called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. The Jews were called in the Old Testament through Abram, who later became Abraham, father of many. They were called, but they rejected Jesus. So Paul was sent out to bring the rest of the world in. It was opened up to everybody. we can be adopted into the family of God. So quoting here, it says in 25, as he says also in Hosea, it's Hosea 2:23, I will call them my people who are not my people, and her beloved who was not beloved. And it shall come to pass in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people, there they shall be called sons of the living God. Isaiah also talks about it, and that's 10:22, Isaiah 10:22. Though the number of children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, there will be a remnant saved. At the very end, they're all going to be killed off and scattered again, one last time. Though the number of children of Israel are the sand of the sea, he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because the Lord will make short work upon the earth. He talks about cutting the tribulation short, or no one would be left alive. So at 7 years, it may be a little bit short. Quite frankly, he could destroy the earth in one day, so he doesn't need all of that time. The only reason the time is there is to save every last soul. That's all the reason for the tribulation. It is not to punish. It's to wake up. He could have killed them all in one spot, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. He's not doing that. He's bringing on tribulation after tribulation after tribulation. Finally, those whose names are in the book of life will realize that they've been sitting on the fence and have to get off. And as Isaiah said before, unless the Lord of Sabbath had left us a seed, we would have become like Sodom, and we would have been made like Gomorrah. So he can take care of what's going on wrong down here in an instant. But he's not doing that. He's doing what he's doing now, to save every last soul. And initially, we're the harvesters. There will be new harvesters created during the tribulation to save those that are saved during the tribulation. So we have to plant seeds so that when they finally realize that they messed up, that they will accept Christ during the tribulation from the seeds that we plant. So talk to everybody, whether they want to listen or not. You don't know where you're planting seeds. You don't know what the ground is like. We can't read into anybody's soul. Only God can. So tell everybody. It's like the end of that Twilight Zone movie, to serve man. I don't know if you know that one, but it's like all the other Twilights. It's a twist. At the very end, tell everybody, tell the world, it's a cookbook. They were all happy to follow him on these trips. They were lied to. Satan has a cookbook too. It's called Roast Human. And we don't want to be part of that. Did that have that meaning in that movie? In that show? I don't know. But it's fitting. We don't want to be part of that roasting going on. We want to be in heaven, in a brand new heaven and earth, created by the creator of this one. So I don't know what it's going to be like, but it should be interesting. Okay, here comes another ground full of people, so I'm going to cut this one short. We keep having crazy weather here, and this river's up quite a bit. We're supposed to get rain again starting Tuesday, and it's supposed to rain through Thursday maybe, with at the end maybe thunderstorms again, just like we had. And there were 7 tornadoes in that last storm, and it killed probably 10 people, most of them in Alabama, but I think 1 or 2 in Mississippi, and 2 or 3 here, and 6 of them in Selma, Alabama. So we can't control the weather. God can. I was in a safe place. I don't know if the people that died were Christians or not, and that's the thing we don't know. We can hope they were, but I don't know. Get your act right with God now. If you're not a Christian, what are you waiting for? Is there someone holding you down and twisting your arm saying, don't accept? Well, Satan may be trying that, but accept Christ and you can tell Satan to go to hell, literally. Sorry for the expletive, but it is true. That is a biblical word, hell is. Hades, whatever you want to call it. We can beat this. As Christians, we're not here as punishment now. We're here to help save every last soul. Talk to everybody you meet. I've started walking around to campsites when people are moving in and introducing myself. I don't work here, but I'm just saying I'm a Georgian and we have Georgia hospitality, so I'm just greeting everybody that comes in. Find an excuse. And then they ask me what I'm doing here. And I'm camping to make my YouTube videos. So, the world is not getting better, if you haven't noticed that. Of course, it's almost comical to watch our fearless leader speak. And he was in town today. I think he's in town all weekend to speak someplace on MLK coming up on Monday. They ought to give him an Academy Award for fiction. Because, man, does he just lies. I don't know how anybody can just... I guess they get their power and their abilities from Satan. How can look straight in the face and just lie to you as if it were the truth. And that's why the world believes it. If you watch the mainstream media, you won't find this. You need to find your news sources that are better than that. Look to Glenn Beck, John Stossel, Megyn Kelly. You know, I don't like Megyn Kelly because of all the bad things she did. She didn't do anything bad. They made up all that stuff to get her out. They attacked her. The media attacked her. They ordered their own people to attack her. Watch the John Stossel interview with her. They worked together early on at Fox. And even Fox was not good enough. Fox sometimes has to play the ratings so they can keep money coming in. All right. I didn't bring my bottle of water, so I'm going to have to go back and get it before I start coughing again. I'm taking care of it. It's okay. It's a nuisance. Satan will do anything he can to shut us up. But you just tell him to get behind me, Satan, and move on. And he has to. In the name of Christ, he has to. I can call him names. I can call him a big joke. The stupid Satan. I can call him whatever I want as long as I'm standing a foot away from Jesus. I picture Jesus sitting next to me on this seat, and I'm on my swinging seat again. I love these things. I study this way, moving, because I get my mind working, I guess, when I'm moving. I have to stop when I'm talking so that you don't have to watch a moving target. And I'm kind of edging over to the left to keep the sun behind me. Some people say they sometimes see crosses and all kinds of stuff behind me, but I don't see it. Maybe you do. I'm not doing this on purpose. I end up picking times and days that are like that. I let God lead on this whenever he wants to talk. But for the next few months, I might have to do my videos in the afternoon because it was 26 this morning. And it's too cold to be sitting. If you're hiking or doing something or moving around, it's okay, but it's too cold to be sitting. Okay, I'm going to throw a couple of little videos on the end, not very long, just to show you kind of what we look like here. I had an armadillo come up within 3 feet of me. The lens on this camera makes them look like they're 30 feet away, but they're only like 3 feet. I zoomed in a little bit and that helped, but I've seen 4 or 5 of them. I've seen turkeys today. I saw deer today. All in this park. You just got to get out. And I spend time in the morning in my tent. I don't come out until it gets above freezing. And I think in a week or two, maybe 10 days from now, we're supposed to get freezing weather. Maybe ice, maybe snow. We don't know yet. We'll have to see how my tent holds up. I might have to stay up all night if it snows. Keep shaking the snow off. That weight of that stuff can get pretty heavy, especially if it's wet snow, which it is when it gets, the first ones that come in typically are wet. If it's dry powder, you can have 4 feet on top of you and have it only weigh 10 ounces. But if it's wet, 2 inches will cave your tent in. So just have to keep an eye out. Again, pray for me, but God takes care of me, and my car is 50 feet away. I can go sit in my car. And all of our comfort stations, wherever you're at, if you're at a state park, in most county parks have brick buildings that are secure in case of tornadoes. And with the weather reports now, I watched the live weather reports on that last storm, so I knew exactly where everything was at. The two major tornadoes, the F2 and the F3, one was north and one was south. And I could see them going by. And I knew I was okay, but the straight line winds were bad enough. When you get a band that goes by that's got red and orange and yellow in it, and purple sometimes, those are high winds. And I watched high winds go by, but I was safe in my car. And the car is just out of range of trees that could fall on it. So I'm safe, as long as I get out of my tent. Anyhow, keep working. In fact, I'm going to encourage you. Here's a little bit of encouragement. The harder we make it for Satan, the sooner he's going to want us out of here. Think about that. If we make it difficult for him to do what he's going to do, he'll come after us, because he knows the Bible too. As soon as he comes after us, God's going to rapture us. So make it difficult on him. Make it so difficult now that he wants to get rid of us. There's a trick. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless. I was busy talking with some people I met on the trail, and this armadillo showed up right next to us, foraging for food. So I went ahead and shot a little video at him. I'll go ahead and zoom in here in a second. But it's fun to watch how when nature gets tame enough that they're not afraid of us. You still want to not mess with them. You don't want to feed them, because then they get dependent on humans. And not everybody takes care of animals properly. Now this area here is just back in the area behind me. I wandered over here because I heard some turkeys, and I could never get close enough to get them on film. They're kind of in the back, but you can't really see them. And as I pan across, I eventually ran into some deer in the back, about 5 or 6 of them. But again, they're in the very back part, and you can't see them. Let me see if I can get an idea where they're at. I kind of stopped for a little bit. I'm recording this afterwards. Narration, if you will. There. I think they're directly in that area back there. But again, they got away. We just finished up hunting season here in Georgia, so they a little bit gun shy, so to speak. But it's you can see where a lot of the trees are falling down. The pine trees have pine beetle in them, and they're dying off slowly. Around my campsite, there's a whole bunch of them that are dead. You can see that little bit of trail right there. That's what you have to keep an eye on. If you stay on the trails, you're fine. If you get off of them, you don't know what you're going to run into. So I recommend everybody stay on trails. But during this trip, we saw the armadillo. I saw turkeys and deer and squirrels, of course, and the ravens were overhead squawking at me like they normally do. I wish I could have shown you more of that, but take my word for it, they're there. And if you get out and join us out here, you can enjoy it too. So come on out.